Today what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about a condition that I refer to as generalized lower back pain. Now, the spine itself is composed of 24 moving vertebrae, and you have 7 cervical vertebrae, those are the vertebrae in the neck. You have 12 thoracic vertebrae along with their corresponding ribs that attach to each of those vertebrae. And then in the lower back, you have the last 5 vertebrae are called the lumbar vertebrae. Now, the lumbar vertebrae are very thick. You can see the difference between the lumbar vertebra, the thickness of each bony segment of the lumbar vertebra compared to the thoracic and certainly the cervical vertebra. And the reason for that is that these vertebrae have to take on much more of the body weight. So they're going to need to be much stronger and thicker in order to do that. Likewise, the intervertebral discs, the cartilage structures between the vertebrae themselves that provide the cushioning between each of the bony elements of the spine has to be thick. And you can see the difference between the thickness of this lumbar disc as opposed to this thoracic disc here. In addition, you have on the back side a pair of joints that move, that allow the spine to move. And if you notice, and this isn't that great of an example, but there is an inward curve here in the lower back. Now, oftentimes what will happen with conditions of lower back pain is that you can be going along and you can bend over to pick something up and your back just cramps up and you have difficulty standing up, and this condition may happen periodically throughout the year and as time goes on becomes more and more frequent. Well, the general problem that has developed over time is that the deep stabilizing structures, in fact these are very small muscles that go from segment to segment, have lost their ability over time to control that movement of your back. So they're basically sitting there teetering on the edge of fatigue all the time. And like I said, you can be going along just fine, you bend over to pick up a Kleenex off the floor, and your back locks up on you. Well, obviously it's not the fact that you're picking up a Kleenex, it's a fact that the deep muscles of the spine have lost their ability to provide that dynamic stabilization for you to accomplish the activity. Now, the reason for that is that is kind of like the last thing to go before we start to see some of the degenerative changes in the disc and into the joints themselves. And the reason for that is that over time, because of either you have a more sedentary life, you have a job that puts you into certain positions, there are imbalances that occur in the muscular system that left untreated will cause everything to move inwardly, and the tissues inwardly are just not designed to take on that kind of a load. So what happens is that you have these imbalances that take place. In other words, you have tight muscles that start to develop on one side of your body, weak muscles that start to develop on the opposite side, and as time goes along, that system is unable to withstand the stresses of day-to-day activity, so it transfers all of that energy internally into structures that aren't designed to take on that kind of a load. So you start to get fatigue of deeper muscles in the spine, those deep stabilizing muscles, and then, like I said, over time you start to see the degenerative changes that we see in the disc and in the facet joints themselves, ultimately leading to nerve irritation, perhaps some sciatica, that sort of thing. So at any rate, in order to be able to treat this, you have to, number one, understand the whole cascading set of events, not try to treat the what you will see, or the symptoms, not try to treat the symptoms, but go to the source of the problem. And that is usually the rebalancing of the structures out here, and then move in deeper. So there's a proper sequencing of things that need to happen. Number one, you need to identify the structures that are at fault. And then number two is to begin a correctly sequenced treatment approach that is going to address the problem. Lower back pain in and of itself is a very common condition. 80% of the population will have an episode at some point in their lives. And if you do nothing to fix the problem, most of the time it will go away. The key, though, is that about 75% of those cases that go away will return, and will return more often with age, because the problem hasn't been addressed. The source of the problem hasn't been addressed. I hope the information that I've provided you today has been helpful, and you find it useful in looking into your current situation of lower back pain. If you want more information about how my program might be able to help you with your particular situation, feel free to visit me by clicking the link you see right below this video. This is Malton Schexnayder wishing you all good health, and I do hope our paths cross soon.